The first of possibly 2 overnighters in March. Let's roll the intro, sunshine, eh? Snow, snow, snow. And more snow. So here we are, we're on the river. We've had 4 nights basically on the trot of negative temperatures, and now we have snow. Oops. I always pick winners of nights to do fucking overnighters, don't I? Last night it got down to -5. On the drive down here, it was like hovering around like 0. But just checking the van there, it's a whopping 2 degrees, so it's almost underpants and laying the sunshine weather. I've got the 4 rods in. I've got the tracker brolly up, and I think I might have to actually zip on the front cover for later on tonight for sleepy times, because at the minute the wind's going this direction, but it's apparently going to change and then go that direction. So I kind of figured put the brolly up so that the back of the brolly is going to take the most of the wind. We just have to get past this sideways bullshit at the minute. So let's start with 4 rods in, as normal, you know, 4 rods. I have a whole mackerel, a eel tail, a sardine, and a roach. Roach is on a sunken float paternoster. It's just doing its thing, you know. There is a little bit of current. The river is moving very slightly, but not an awful lot. Apart from that, it's all good. Not an awful lot I can tell you right now. I'm thinking about making some breakfast. I'm sitting watching cormorants that are like down below me here. And when I arrived this morning, it was kind of flat calm, but it is what it is. Let's see what the negative temperatures do to the tracker 100T Tempest and the social overwrap thingy. I have a funny feeling I'm going to be pushing it quite hard today. If all else fails, the van's parked beside me, so we'll get the van on the go. I'll sleep in it. And we have snow, or sleet. Good sleet. Just salvaging some old traces. I had an arsehole in a boat go past and fucking wipe out my rods. I mean, I got to they wiped out 2 of the rods. One of them he broke off. So don't know what I can do there. I mean, I broke off. There's a trace with a bait in it. All because of some dick cheese in the boat. I swear the same fucking clowns came and hung around the bridge, started pelting lures down this way, and I kind of came out of here and said, "Are you guys on the fucking drugs? What the fuck are you playing at?" And they kind of waved and smiled and didn't speak much English. And then they kind of drifted it down the river, throwing lures on the far side. Don't care about the far side, throw lures all you want. But there was one boat came too close to me, started chucking lures here, and I'm like, again out the bivvy going, "Come on, you've the whole fucking river and you're going to throw lures on top of where I'm fishing? Do one." Mr. Spod Rod and some 5-ounce leads was the next step. And they could have parlez-vous anglaise, spod rod and 5-ounce lead to the side of your head. But as they went back up the river and they fucking wiped out my rod, I could have fucking screamed, man. I'm a big one for manners. You know, I like it when, you know, manners are so cheap and easy to carry. They're free. But you get people like that there and you just think, no. What more can you do? The more you think about it, the more angry it makes me, you know. I hate leaving fucking traces on the bottom. The only hope is that enough braid and wire got sucked around his outboard. Prick of a man. All your old wire, I bin it. An old empty tin can in a tin can, and then you go home and bin it. Get rid. Don't leave it at your arse. Oh. I see Gary Lineker's making fans again, making friends with people. That's Gary Lineker, the footballer, who seems to think that because he was once a footballer that was pretty good, he can talk shit about anything he wants. Now, I'm no fan of the current government, the Tory government. I'm no fan of any government. Politicians, I think, are just arseholes. But the Tories have kind of said that, you know, they're going to stop the little boats coming from France. If it was me, I'd be using the Royal Navy. Sharpshooters in the Royal Navy. As soon as the rubber dinghy hits international water, pop, 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 a few holes in the rubber dinghy, and say, "Turn around, because you ain't going to make it to the UK, son." All these NGOs and like fucking lefty do-gooder types that are out there ferrying them across to the UK, they need investigated. They really do need investigated. But Gary Lineker says the new rules where if you come to the UK illegally, you're going to be deported straight away or something like that. I don't know the full story, but Gary Lineker came out and said it's like the Nazis in Germany, or Germany in the 1930s. It's like, yeah, because there's an equivalent of moving economic migrants back to France where they're in no fucking danger, and lining up the Jews and shooting them and burying them in a fucking ditch. We're seeing it now in Northern Ireland as well, where we're getting these immigrants coming. And I do think they're immigrants. I don't think they're migrants. They ain't fleeing from shit. You know, there was a load of them arrived in Northern Ireland, and the newspaper or the news was there going, "And where are you from?" And they go, "Oh, Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine." I'm thinking, funny, you look more like sub-Saharan Africa to me than Ukraine. Ukraine doesn't tend to have many black people. And you think, okay, I would love these people, these refugees, welcome people, to have the refugees housed beside them. Instead of punishing the lowest and the weakest, not so much the weakest, punishing the people at the bottom end of society, like working class types. Instead of doing that there, why don't they put these people into like upper class areas? So these refugees welcome types can have them in their own house. There was a very interesting one when ISIS was a thing, and you had this this child drowned. It left the father of the child took the child on a shitty boat, and they went across a dangerous part of the ocean, and the child drowned. And that in itself's a fucking tragedy, because no child deserves to drown like that. But you were there watching the media outrage about this one child. But the same outrage was gone after in a couple of weeks, when the Islamic types had butchered people on trains and streets and churches. And it's happening right now in the UK. In Wakeford, there was a group of school kids, and they had a forfeit. Now, this is what's happening. They had a forfeit where the loser in the Call of Duty game had to bring a Quran to school. That was the forfeit. Kid brought the Quran to school, and then there was rumours started on social media that the kid burnt the Quran. He didn't burn the Quran. You know, the Quran was a bit scuffed up. That's it. And you see some snivelling little rat policeman sat beside these head Muslims saying, yes, the child was very, very silly. You know, and we're having a talk. 4 kids in that school got suspended for this. But the Muslims that made death threats against the kids didn't get arrested. Do you know what they got? They got a talking to by the police. Our fucking world has gone mad. Why are we appeasing a dark age mentality? Why? Your religious right stops the second it interferes with my life. Same goes for Catholicism, same goes for Buddhism or Hinduism or Sikhs. Any religion, pick a fucking religion. Your right to be religious is brilliant. You can be as religious as you fucking want. But the moment you say, this child's mother has to be dressed up in a burqa and publicly ridicule her son for his behaviour, or we're going to go Tonto and fucking wreck the place. Yeah, these spoiled children need to be taught a bit of a fucking lesson. This is the UK. This isn't fucking Pakistan. If you want to live like savages, go back to fucking Pakistan. Wakeford. The UK. Jesus Christ. Never in my life have I seen the like of it. But it's getting to the point now where I could maybe do with a cup of coffee because it's getting quite nippy. I can't actually believe we're getting snow. Getting snow. I pick a great day to go fishing overnight. It's just a bit wintry. We got some sleet, some snow. I'll show you the van. This is Pimp My Bivvy. And there's the sleepy bit, there the city bit, there the Mickey coffee bit. It's went from sleet to snow, and then now it's just rain. No runs at all, which is a bit shitty. I thought we would have at least got one run. This weather is fucking something else. I am going to build a fire, trying to build a fire in the pissing rain. That's going to be interesting. Just to try and get some radiant heat in here. I've got my new all singing, all dancing Coleman lantern. It's been a bit of a strange one now. Wonder what time it is, hold on. Come on, phone, work. It's 20 to 7, so we've got a bit of time yet, but it is getting dark. So let's try and get a fire on the go and get some. Dinner's going to be interesting because Steve, he's just sent me a text message and he says, "Do you fancy a KFC?" So he could be running me out of KFC. So winner, chicken dinner. Oh, miserable day, miserable. The things I do to try and catch pike, eh?
The next morning.
Inside the bivvy is frozen. Right here. Right, can't hear here. Outside's frozen. Fuck knows what temperature it got down to last night, but it was nippy. All the batteries of my GoPro are dead. They just don't like the cold at all. So I'm using the phone. But I ain't doing shit to get it. Because it is. Whilst it is a beautiful day out there, that's needed before we do anything else. I think I may get back on the sleeping bag. Well, that's the first. Never had this happen before. All the rails are frozen solid. The bite alarms are frozen solid. I can't turn them on. I can't move the rail handles. I've got one of them working, but I had to pour like a kettle of half warm water over it. So I'm going to have to wait till the sun gets up a little bit to melt the ice off them. But there is literally kind of a centimetre of ice on the rods. The rails are completely frozen. How cold was it last night? You know, sometimes pike fishing's hard. You know it's hard when this sort of shit happens. Yep, that's my net. Frozen, solid, in one lump. Well, the good news is, it's not a blank. The bad news is, it's not very big. It's not very big. Here we go. A little jack. And it's covered in leeches, so it's been lying on the bottom. Some of these fucking leeches off you. So there we go. It's not a blank. There it goes. This is a lovely day so far. Such a change from yesterday. Yesterday there was torrential rain, gusts of wind, snow, hail, sleet. During the night it got down to colder than a witch's tit temperatures. Everything was frozen when I got up this morning. But I want to go through something, because I get asked questions about this a fair bit. So I want to go through something with you guys. And it's about this little thing here. This is my tracker barbecue. It also doubles up as a fire pit. Now I've had this a few years. It just folds out like that. There's a plate in the bottom that goes up like that to fill the bottom. You then put this little sticky bit in here and fold up the two slats here. You put your fire on here, and you also have a grill. This is the little bag it all comes into. Now I've had it this long, the bag's kind of fallen to bits, but there's your grill. So you just slot it on like so, and there's enough space in this here to cook a good steak. You've seen me more so use it not for cooking steak, but for having a bit of using it as a fire pit. So let's discuss the fire pit, shall we? The fire pits are simple. Last night, because it was so cold, I lit a little fire. When I'm doing this, when I'm lighting a fire, I bring my own wood. You don't take a fucking hatchet or a chainsaw to the local vegetation. Two reasons why you don't. One, it's bad manners and you get kicked off a fishery. Two, what you're cutting down is live wood. It won't burn. It's full of moisture. So I go to the little petrol stations on the way down here, and you get bags of like a bag of pine wood. I think it's like 3 bags for like £6 or something like that. It's dirt cheap. You'll burn up a lot of it because it is so dirt cheap, and it'll spark like a motherfucker, but because you're outside it doesn't really make a difference. So we've covered bringing your own wood. If you're not going to bring your own wood, don't light a fire. Simple. Second thing, if you arrive and it's a green field and you start burning, you're gonna leave a patch of grass that's burnt, right? Somebody before me in this same field has left a patch of grass that's burnt. That's bad manners. Again, you want to leave this place as natural as you found it. Well, actually in better condition than I found it, because I've already picked up a bag of fucking rubbish from the place left by anglers. Anglers left this rubbish. Not fucking tourists, not foreigners, it was anglers. Because it's bags of census, it's ground bait, it's bags of pre-made pike fishing traces. I'm ashamed of you as whoever left that here. I am fucking ashamed of you. And I know some of you watch this, and some of you likely will watch this, because I did get the apology once from a guy who said, I think that rubbish was from our club visiting, and I'm very, very sorry, and I apologise. I said, well, thanks for your apology, but next time you come to the urn, make sure your club members don't leave the place in a fucking mess. So we've discussed litter and not burning the grass. So how do you not burn the grass? Simple ways you can do that. You can find a couple of rocks to put down in the grass that will sit on top of. That way all the heat goes to the rock, not the grass. Or you can dig a square out of the grass, flip it over so that your fire is on the bare earth, not the grass. Then the next day when you're finished, you're packing everything down, flip the sod back over again and stamp it in. So people looking at it just see a lump of grass. People don't see that you've had a fire on it. People don't, there's not a mess, there's not shit left behind, there's not ashes everywhere. The reason that this is such a good job, all that was left from that last night was 2 little bits of wood. And they're in the bin bag with all the rest of the rubbish. They're going home with me. This thing burns the wood down to next to nothing. Now, last night, because it was so cold and the wind was so shit, I basically, before I got into my sleeping bag, I stacked this little thing as high as I could get it with the logs, and sat up to about 11 o'clock at night, you know, just chilling out, watching the fire. You know, by that point I'd wound the rods in because I'd stopped fishing. I'd got into my sleeping bag. I was watching a movie on my phone. It was too cold. It was getting really, really cold, and I didn't really want to be running out, and the wind and the rain was getting worse. So I didn't really fancy getting out in the middle of the night to try and wind in rods in freezing rain. So stacked the little fire pit, got into my bed, into my sleeping bag, and had a good night's sleep. I had a few slams of my hip flask. I'd be lying to say to you if I don't bring a hip flask with me, just purely for medicinal terms. I have a nice 14-year-old single malt in the hip flask. Well, I had, it's gone. That lasted me 2 overnighters because I forgot to refill it from the last one. But it's, you know, I'm not advocating coming out fishing and getting shit-faced drunk so you're falling over, or I'm not advocating going out fishing and getting fucked up on the drugs and falling over everywhere. If you're still fishing, be responsible. If you're fishing on top of someone's land, be respectful. And that's pretty much all I have to say, really. You know, I do get asked a lot of questions about the fire pit and where can you get one. Well, unfortunately, this is made by Tracker, and Tracker don't make these anymore. They make a newer version of their fold-up barbecue. So unless you can find these on YouTube, not YouTube, on eBay or something like that there, I have seen them marketed as barbecue in a bucket type things on eBay, and they're about 15 quid. When I bought it from Tracker, I think it was like around about the same sort of money. It wasn't expensive, and it's steel, you know. Eventually it will burn out. It won't last forever, but for the last 3 or 4 years that I've been using it, it's stood up and done a job. And when you're folding it away, putting it away, everything fits into this wee bag, including the fire lighters. Now these they're basically compressed wood. It's a type of fire lighter that's like a compressed wood, and you take off a block. They're all segregated. Take off into a block. It doesn't smell of anything. It looks like compressed paper, and it lights fairly quickly, and you get your fire going pretty fast. I'm coming to the end of them. I've no idea what they were called. This is the writing's all in. I'll just tell you what they are. Right, here we go. We've got a British bit. Composed of compressed wood chippings, sawdust, and vegetable oil. Place fire lighter on top of charcoal or under logwood, blah 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 blah. Do not use lighters or do not use spirits or petrol. Burns for 8 minutes. One little square burns for 8 minutes. Keep it to reach children and animals. So there, and I have no idea where I got these from. They come in like a big thick pack, and I've had them for years, and this is like the last of them. And they live in this plastic bag. There's no smell of them. It's just, they're meant to smell like pine and compressed cardboards and stuff, and vegetable oils. There ain't no smell of them. You know, when you set them on fire, there's no smell of them. So they are what they are. They're just like a compressed fibre that's good for burning. So putting this in the bag, dead simple. You just collapse your grill, take out your little peg thing, fold it down, and that's the size it goes to. It fits in your wee bag. And like I say, this wee bag is falling to bits. I've had it for a long time. in the summertime, when I've used this like out fishing for bream and stuff like that, there like longer sessions, I would get one of those like instant barbecue bags. It's just basically got the charcoal already lapped. All you do is light the bag and it's whoosh. One of those little bags fits in there perfectly. If you're cooking for a longer term, buy 2 of the bags, get them put in, get them lit, let the coals go white, and then you get your steaks on, or your burgers. The grill size isn't that big. You get about 4 burgers on it, or 1 man-sized steak. And there you go. There is my fire pit in a bag. I did also buy a little cheap small spade. That was for digging a square to flip the sod. So I hope that was of interest to you. I hope you understand like fires and stuff. I know some of you don't like it, and some of you do like it. I know it tends to be like a cultural thing. I know in Scotland, anywhere I went in Scotland for like overnight sessions, there was very clear evidence that people had, you know, built stone circles and put fire in the middle of them. Whereas in England, on some of the bigger fisheries, they're just flat out no barbecue, no fires. And you got to respect their rules. That's their rules. Personally, I don't think there's a problem with what I do, because I don't leave a mess. There's no trace that I did it, and you know, not harming the earth or the environment, you know, with it. You know, some of the places I've been to in France, they actually had in the pegs. Or one of the places I went to, the pegs had like flagstones, like concrete flagstones that you set your barbecue on. Some of the fisheries in England have those as well. But again, it's fishery to fishery. I know the last time I fished the River Seine outside of Paris, and there was blanket rules on, at that time of year there was no fires, no fishing at night, and you know, that was a drive and survive trip. I would love to do another one of those. I would love to do another one where you just load the van up away off to France and fish for the cats or the carp. You know, I would love to do that again, but again, finances dictate that I fish here at the minute, unless I win the lottery. Let's see if this is a run. This is on the pollen. No, nothing. Nothing. I don't know what made it flip out. Don't see anything. I'll just whack it out again. Could have been weed, could have been anything. Boop. We are on the bottom. Right, sardine. I'm going to recast this out because it's not doing anything all day. I'm just in the process of putting stuff back in the van. Did I see a bit of... No. I thought I seen a bit of shit on the rail there. Yeah, my sardine is gone. It's the problem with sardines, they don't tend to last too long on the hooks. It's been replaced by zebra mussels. Great. I'm gonna get another bit. Trying not to tangle my fucking main line up in this. Go get another bit. I'm going to throw it now. Might go for a smelt, I think. Don't know. Let's try something else. Let's see what's in the bit tub. Well, 2 fish. This GoPro might be at the end of its life because I'm sure I pressed play about fucking 3 times and it made all the bleepy noises but it just didn't take anything. Wasn't a big fish. That was on a sunken float, Patent Ostrich roach. I even managed to get the roach back, so it was put back out to where I got it again. In the middle of the river there is some current, very very slight current. Because the sunken float is basically keeping the bait way off the bottom. I'll even put a little rattling bait on the trace so that the bait's kind of just, it's fucking dead, you know, it's just going to be going around in the current. And the more the current moves it, the more the little rattling bait will click, 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 attract the fish. At least that's the plan. That's the second fish I've had on the sunken float rig. So I've had a bit of a change around. I've had a sunken float rig, then I've popped up a big roach, then I've got a sardine that I have stabbed a load of times to let all its juice out. It's quite a big sardine, it's about this sort of size. It's rare that you get, it's rare that I get sardines that are about maybe 7-8 inches, you know, they're usually kind of a lot smaller than that. So these were good sized baits. They're still frozen. My freezer bag's kept, surprise, surprise, it was like -4 last night. Everything's still rock solid frozen. So before when I put it on the hook, I spike it a couple of times to let it kind of damage the skin and get the oils out. And in the very, very last rod I have a pollen. I'm just in the process of having a slow pack down here when it's nice and sunny. The bivvy and the brolly has dried out. So I'm going to take away the overwrap, put it in the bag, take away all the other bits and pieces and put them in the van. I'm going to fish to about 4 o'clock and then take a slow drive home. It is 5 to 1, so another about 3 hours of fishing. Then I'll take a slow drive home. Such a change from yesterday. I mean, yesterday if I was sitting out here, I'd have been battered to death with the fucking sleep, the snow, the driving hailstones. You know, what a change a day makes. This is, like I said, this is the first of possibly 2 overnighters in March, and I'm going to try and get out on the Sundays. This is Friday, so I'm going to go home tonight and sweet talk Mrs. S, ply her full of, well actually I'm not going to ply her full of wine. Mrs. S is working tonight, so I'm going to go home and look after the baby tonight, and then tomorrow, she's off tomorrow night, so tomorrow night it might be, well that'll be tomorrow night, it'll be Sunday, no, tomorrow will be Saturday night, ply her full of wine and takeaway, and then disappear off on Sunday morning, do a day session somewhere else. Ground's still kind of frozen except for where I've been walking, so I'm going to get the rest of this bivvy packed away. I'm going to fucking throw this in the bin. I can't really argue too much. This is the GoPro that I'm filming on now was the original GoPro my wife bought me years ago for doing just a GoPro, but spawned the YouTube channel. I then bought the microphone and the case for it, everything I got there. Well, this was a cheapy one that I picked up off YouTube or eBay. The guy was selling a GoPro Hero 5 for like 70 quid, plus a whole load of little ancillaries and bits and pieces. So I took a punt on it for 70 quid, and it has been temperamental. There's been times when you press the button for it to film and it doesn't film. I'm not too sure why. The cold weather last night destroyed the batteries in all the GoPros. I have a GoPro 11 that I should probably start wearing on my chest. In fact, I'm going to rig it up now. But the cold last night destroyed the batteries and everything. I had to plug them all into the charger in the van, let the van run for half an hour to get some life in them. So it was a bit nippy yesterday. I'm not sure why GoPro don't... the Hero 11, it's meant to have the new super duper batteries that last even in the cold. Nah. You were turning the GoPro on and it was saying 100% and then it was switching itself off. It's like when I went to charge up my phone yesterday, I plugged it in at the battery pack here and the phone rung up low temperature, slow charge. It's like, okay. I have one of those little Fox battery packs that's pretty good. You can charge up your torches and your bits and pieces on it and get things charged up. So this morning when I woke up, this was at 100%. But literally this morning when I got out of my bed to take a piss, all the rails were frozen solid, the alarms were frozen solid. I had to kind of boil a kettle and pour lukewarm water over my rails to get them moving again. So it's a bit of a first for me. I never had the rails do that there. I think I might treat myself to a takeaway tonight. Steve actually came and visited me last night. He brought KFC. Steve's awesome. He really is. He kind of stopped by KFC and he sent me a text message. Now, last night it was fucking horrible. And he goes, do you want a KFC? And I went, yeah, sure. And he arrived out with a KFC. So that was nice. I had a KFC. Sorry there's not been any cooking with Scobes this weekend. It's been kind of a bit of an adventure. I've basically, this morning's breakfast was one of those ready meal bags that you use for the hike, like the old military rations. I just boiled one of them for like 6 or 7 minutes and then ate it because it was too cold to fuck about. And I left the pack of bacon, the sausages and the tortilla wraps and the eggs sitting in my house. So I arrived yesterday and I kind of looked at what I had in the cool bag and I was like, ah, fuck. So I had to go to the, I usually have a couple of those emergency, food things in there anyway. So I had a couple of those. Well, actually I had one of those, didn't have a couple. So one run yesterday through the hooks, one pike in the unhooking mat today, and another pike through the hooks just outside the landing net. To be fair, it was only a small jack, literally it's about this sort of size. And the hook, last bit of hook was just on the side of it. And I was thinking, do I really want to tangle the net up for this little thing? And it came off, so I was happy enough that it came off. Wasn't so happy that my GoPro dicked around and lost the fight, because he was quite aerobatic. He jumped twice for all the size of him. I actually thought it was a trout when it first jumped. So I'm gonna put a new battery in this and see what the fuck the problem is. GoPro. Not much more I can do with it. This is an awesome day. I am enjoying the sunshine. Let's get the bivvy put down. and get it packed away, so when it comes to packing everything else away, it's easy enough done. Just gone 20 past 4, and I have packed up and I'm heading home. So, how was that overnighter? 1 fish landed, 2 fish, well, 1 run that I connected with and it came off, the other one that it threw the hooks more so by design than anything else. I didn't really want to net it and then hook it because it was a fucking pain in the ass of the jack. A great test of the Tempest Brolly and the communal thingy that goes along with it. Cracking test. You know, chatting to one of my friends who lives in Enniskillen town, he was saying it got down to -6 where he was in his yard. I didn't take the temperature in the middle of the night. I know that when I woke up it was in the negatives. I know that yesterday the van said it was negative, but the wind chill would have brought it down a lot more. You know you're cold when your hands are beginning to swell up a little bit from the cold, and you begin to lose dexterity in your hands. So, but it was nice getting that little fire pit on the go and taking a belt of my hip flask and then relaxing. Inside the sleeping bag, toasty warm, not a fucking problem. I can't say enough positives about the Fox sleeping system thing, the bed chair, the sleeping bag, the Fox R3 bed chair and the R3 sleeping bag, and then the thermal overlay over thing, the Gore-Tex wrap thing that goes over it again, so it turns your sleeping bag into like a 5-season sleeping bag. Inside the sleeping bag, when it was all zipped up, I was toasty warm, no complaints. The only complaint I did have was about 4 o'clock in the morning when I had to wake up to take a piss. I tried the old Jedi mind trick of lying there going, you do not need to take a piss. You do not need to take a piss. And then it was like, yeah, you do need to take a piss, Scobes, get outside and get it done. So, I mean, last night I slept, like obviously before I would go to bed, I would change my underwear, change my socks, baster, like a t-shirt. Well, I would have changed the t-shirt, but I only brought this with me. I didn't pack the thing very properly. Normally in my clothing bag I have a couple of t-shirts, but I don't have the one, so this is what has to be done. I do have like other hoodies, so I wouldn't have been, in trouble, and any bother. So I'd have been kept warm. Even if I got drenched, I would have been kept warm. A couple of spare pairs of jogging bottoms and stuff like that. So that's besides the point. It's just that I didn't pack enough base layer. But like I said, inside the sleeping bag, toasty warm, no complaints. It was interesting waking up this morning to have the rails frozen lock solid. Never had that before. Never had that before. Everything seemed to have a layer of ice stuck to it. So where the freezing rain had obviously landed on something, it just froze up over time. I literally had to warm up some water in the pan and pour it over the rails to get them moving. What a session. All for one jack. Still, you can't win unless you're in. I am going to try and get out again at the weekend. This is Friday, so I am going to try and get out at the weekend, do a day session. I have no idea where yet. Probably another scouting session to find it for a possible overnighter. I'm off next Friday. That's St. Patrick's Day, and work gives us all the day off. So I suppose I could go out Friday, but again it'll probably be a day session. And then the following week after that I have days off in the week as well. So that's the plan, to get 2 overnighters done in the month of March. to see if if the fish are moving from deeper water to spawning bays. That touch, putting my hand in that water today, that water is fucking cold. So I'm not so sure they'll be so keen to move into a spawning bay at the waters of that temperature. Literally everywhere I'm going, if it's in the shade, it's covered in snow and ice. You know, if the sun's got a touch to it, it's thawed out. But if it's in the shade, there's a layer of that like frost. So it's still cold at the minute. The temperature in the van says it's 4 degrees. Make of that as what you will. Anyway, troops, until the next time, tight lines. Oh, YouTube shit. Like, share, subscribe, blah 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 blah. Help me out, free, blah 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 blah. Ko-Fi thing, don't do that unless you're a complete maniac. Any other questions or stuff, put them in the comments. Do try to answer every comment. If I've missed a comment, it's not because I'm a dick, it's just because, you know, missed a comment. Very sorry. Anyway, love yous all. Night night.